These are the bones of our great-great-great-great-grandfather. As you can see, it's a very human teeth. But actually it's, well, we thought this was a human jaw because of the teeth, and it's pig bones. Mér langaði fyrst að segja ykkur aðeins frá upphafi þessa verkefnis, akkur við sitjum hérna eða erum komin hingað. Og það það að Björn Guðni hérna, sem hérna í Bakkagerði oft á sumrin, hann sá í 2010 eða 11, við munum ekki alveg hvort árið það var, að það stóðu bein hérna út úr bakka, út úr sandbakka hérna, það sem við sjáum núna stóra skurðin sem búið að taka.
But there's a bit of bone in this one too.
Super.
So
Wow.
once we've got it all recorded and described, we'll take some chunks of the timber out, sample them, bag them up, and then we'll drive into that. And we're not gonna need too much of that because that's all bone.
Yes.
We started a research project in Sandvik. We went there because there is a midden there, a very old one, which is eroding into the sea.
Because in those days, 1100 years back, you boil something in a pot, and the bones are, the rest are just bones and things we call ecological. And of course you don't go far with trash. You just take the bowl out here and you just throw it, chuck it down here, and the sea takes some of it, and some of it is taken into the earth. So we have this book of settlements which tells us about all the settlers in Iceland, and we have one settler that is registered in this island called Grímsey. His name was Grímur Ingjaldsson from Haddingadal or Hallingdal in the middle of Norway. Our hypothesis is that because the water in the island is quite scarce and you can't get much water in the winter time there, and that's why we started to think that this was his base, his farm, and then he sent people out to the island, and somehow in the oral tradition he has been made a settler of Grímsey, and nothing is mentioned of his settlement here on the mainland. But this can probably be then, if it's the right man, his farm here in Sandvik, where we are.
So first part of this project was to do a coring project, and we take coring samples of the soil basically, and we look at the soil, and there we can see if there's any cultural material in the soil column. We made a grid system, so basically 10 meters squares, and systematically went through the whole bay.
And we're trying to recover especially animal bones that will tell us what kind of economy we are finding here, what kind of activity we find here from the past. And I was asked to come here because I am actually the zoo archaeologist, so I analyze animal bones from archaeological sites, and I try to find out about what the people here ate, what kind of animals they had access to, whether the animals came from outside, from where outside they might have come. The other thing that we're trying to find out is, via animal bones, how old the cultural layers are that we're finding, because right now we don't know where we are in time. But now we need to, I need to sample or find some samples for the specialists that will do radiocarbon analysis.
We have a collection of large timbers. It's possible that they've arrived naturally as driftwood, but once we cleaned around them and explored them, Certainly some of the timber looks like planks rather than just logs. And at the same kind of level, we've also found some charcoal and some bone remains. So that suggests that these timbers have arrived when people were here, when people were working here. And it seems like a much more reasonable explanation that these timbers have been deliberately brought here and put together.
And it's one of the best preserved timber that I have ever seen, and it's like for us archaeologists, it's like we get like shivers, hearts beat faster.
Now there have been some months since we were digging, and we have finally got the results from the radiocarbon datings.
The two archaeologists in our team found the best bones to send for C14 dating, and we got the results from that last month, which was quite exciting, and also more dating from the Midden itself. Both it's quite old, so we are getting like 9th century dates.
For me, they express a definite story where we see a different pattern in the dating of the bones that were by the logs or the timber that was found in Sandvik.
So the likelihood is, so it's a 95.4% probability that it is from 777 to 983.
So that means that there were people there for perhaps 30, 40, 50 years, and then they disappeared. And the main two hypotheses to explain this, why they disappeared, is firstly that they have fled because of cold and a bad period in time. The other hypothesis is very simple, is that people were not farmers. These earliest settlers in Westfjords, they were out after some resources from nature, and these resources were dried up and used for 10, 20, 30 years. And if we are speaking about breeding places for seals or walruses or something like that, the people have to move to another place to find some more of this resource.
And for us, it's quite fun to have these conversations with Bergsveinn, because he kind of can go a bit wild, and we have to be. We are more preserved and want to have the data behind us. But it is quite fun to kind of use his ideas, and we can test them, and that is what we want to do. So maybe he has something to it, and maybe we can add some scientific data to it.
The main project to accomplish here is to dig out the farm, see the quantity of the farm, and try to find some more things that can illuminate the culture that was there. And we know that there was a lot of from later times, when people were digging there, taking sand there, a lot of iron was purchased or found there, and we have a finding of a sword and such things. So everything points to the fact that people suddenly disappeared. So something has happened, something quite dramatic. It looks like that. And therefore it's very exciting place to dig in.